It'll be up on my channel. We are live. Pog, say hi
I'll
to the
just
people.
copy it then. Oh, you just fucking okay. I guess no starting soon screen. But yeah, we're doing this again, guys. We're doing fucking D&D tier lists. So for context, while JJ's being a dumbass and getting water, um, last time we did what was it? We did races, a ton of the D&D races. I don't know if we did all of them, but we did a lot of them. And now we're on to classes. And then JJ on his own is going to do a smasher pass for some of the monsters in D&D. And I say he's only going to do it because I'm just going to be grinding in Pokemon Gold the whole time.
Okay, and I'm back now. Sweet. I'm guessing you went ahead and announced it. So, let's go ahead and rename these tiers. Um, Best, great, good, meh, bad, trash, the worst. Perfect. Okay, we have tiers named now. So, welcome in everyone. We are finishing up our tier list from yesterday because, it'd be like that. We didn't get to finish it yesterday because that shit took fucking forever. So, are you ready to start off, Aiden?
Sure.
Which one should we start with? Or do you want to just go down in order?
So yeah, might as well just go down the list.
Up first is Artificer. Ficer. Fisser? Ficer. However you say it.
Also, guys, just like the races, we're going to be looking at what these things can do, like what the classes give us just on their own.
Yeah.
I think, and then just like say like why we think they're good or not.
And we'll also
Do you
have
think we
to.
should?
Oh, like,
Oh, sorry, keep going.
I was about to say, also to add to that, we should add how fun they are to play in terms of storytelling. Because just because something's good via combat does not mean it is fun to play as in a story sense.
Looking at you, min-maxing monks. Anyway, all right. So, what do you think we should do in terms of like judging these classes? Like, just go everything from level 1 to 20 or what?
I think the best way to do it, since we both know this, is kind of go like just base like go really generically what they do. We don't have to go into specifics,
Well, yeah, obviously not going into everything, otherwise we'd be here for
but
like
I don't think
15
we need to
hours.
like pull up D&D Beyond and go through like everything they can do. Just go over like a generalized sense. The artificer, it creates stuff and all that shit. We don't have to, pull up the site and be like, it does this at like level 1 and then it doesn't. Yeah, we don't need that shit.
I guess if anything, we could just talk about like the main things that separate them from each class. I
Exactly.
feel like that's probably the better way to go.
Okay, so let's start with artificer, however the fuck you say it.
Artificer. It's
Well, I've
Artificer.
heard other Dungeons and Dragons players pronounce it Ficer, so I don't know.
I'll, okay, well, we'll say this once and for all. Artificer pronunciation. It's Artificer.
Okay, so basically they kind of just build stuff. That's one of their main things. They just build items, magical and shit.
Hmm.
I will say though, especially from playing with one, Nissa's Gunner seems to be fucking fun.
Yeah.
I know someone who plays a Tiefling Alchemist one, which is also pretty cool. I think they're good. I don't think they're great or anything, but I think what they do very well in terms of, creating items and supporting a team via what they
Yeah, they're
create.
definitely really interesting for a class.
I feel like they're never the ones to get like killing blows or anything though.
No, I think they're mainly for not support, but they're mainly like
No, you're right in terms of
how
support.
to
They're
explain
a
it. I would say they're
supportive
more
role.
so like there to aid allies a lot more, but they're not support characters.
Well, no, that's what a support character. Support aids allies. There's a difference between support and healer. That everyone always uses them interchangeably, but it's like the original Symmetra in Overwatch for anyone that's played it. She used to like have a shield generator and a teleporter, so she didn't heal, but she was still a supporter because she helped bolster everyone else instead of being the main focus. So I
Basically, an
think,
artificer is like a an attacking supporter, I would say, because like
yeah,
they can support, but they have stuff that in their arsenal that can actually deal some damage. Because Nissa's Fireball has been pretty nice recently.
yeah. I just think like in terms of you know packing a punch power, I feel like they could be a little bit better. In terms of storytelling, though, because I guess that's something we do need to take into account. I guess the best thing is something I've seen others do, where it's like you make your own shop and start selling your own items or make deals with business owners to like, I'll supply you with this stuff and then you give me so much of the profit. I feel like that
Yeah,
works really well for storytelling, but otherwise, I don't know exactly what all this class adds to storytelling. So,
I feel like they could more so be there for like funny interactions with like them just making something out of nowhere.
yeah, no, that's definitely true, especially when combining it with the right stuff. Who knows what you could make. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. Barbarian. What are your
So with
thoughts?
this one, I can kind of explain this decently well because I've been using one. In terms of combat, they're relatively pretty useful. They're pretty much your like wall of meat. Like they're pretty much one of your walls in this and the in D&D. And they can deal a lot of damage. They can get a lot of health. With rage, they can last like pretty much twice as long with and also dealing a bit more damage than normal, or not dealing more damage than
Yeah.
normal, but having a more likely chance to actually hit your opponents. Like it's a pretty decent class all around with being an upfront tanky and also like hard hitting class.
So
So
something.
I think in terms of combat, while it definitely can be improved, it's pretty good for if you just want a standard old attacking tank character.
So I think you're right in terms of combat. In combat, I would literally put it like up here, one of these top two.
Yeah.
My issue with it though is it doesn't offer much in terms of storyline.
Yeah, Barbarian on its own doesn't really give much to story progression. They're more so like Barbarians are more so used because like a lot of the time you make them not purposely, but it's their dump stats. You make them stupid as fuck with like intelligence or wisdom.
Yeah,
So they're
yeah,
more so supposed to be the joking um slash like I guess comedic relief character in some ways.
yeah. And then
You're
you
supposed to
have
be
the
saying like
people
stuff
that
that
don't.
isn't really all that informational or smart, and it's supposed to be funny in that way.
The issue is, I think, in terms of that you have the people that just don't bother with that. Because while that is like a normal role playing aspect that you should include, I feel like a lot of people don't.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah. Aside from that, barbarians as a class don't really bring much to the environment of D&D.
I think I'm gonna put
But for
them in
combat,
meh,
they're pretty good.
just because like they have next to no story aspect in terms of adding to your story. And actually,
Yeah.
oh,
But for combat, though, they are definitely pretty good.
they're in between here. They're like rather high meh or low good. It's a hard one.
Yeah. The environment issues kind of throw it down a peg, I think.
Yeah. Now, Bard. As someone who plays bards, this has to go in great. Amazing storytelling aspect, as we've experienced firsthand.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
well,
to be
as
fair, like no one has really seen it.
I said, as we, as in me and you, considering
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
mainly a bard in our current campaign, very much so great with storytelling. You can go more of a musical route, you can go the horny route, or you can combine both like I do. Great for storytelling, great for NPC interaction, you know, also easy to have, make jokes and everything else. I feel like it adds a whole lot to storyline progression. Depending on what else you dump into besides charisma, could also have it be a bit more of like a scheming, like thievy bard, like almost kind of like a rogue as well. And the only reason I wouldn't put them as best is their combat. They're more, support focused in terms of their combat, unless you combine them with like some of the other classes that we'll get to later on. But overall, I think they're pretty great in terms of what they offer. Any thoughts, Aiden?
Yeah, I'd say a lot of the points did make sense there.
Yeah. Just wish they had more firepower, but it's okay. Up next, we have Blood Hunter. You want to take over this one, or you want me to? Or you want to just both kind of do this?
Hunters are still kind of new for me because I've only done a one shot with them, so you can do it.
So, from what I've gathered about Blood Hunters, they seem to be kind of, well, like a mix between like a warlock and a paladin or a fighter. But part of me feels like they seem, in my opinion, to be more like a bounty hunter. If I had to say how I thought they would play, they're just kind of one of those weird ones where I don't know. I feel like they can offer a lot in terms of story aspect. It just depends on what all you like, what blood pact or whatever they're called that you give it, and what your blood hunter normally does. Because if your job is like to hunt down bounties on criminals, that adds a whole lot to a story. But in terms of battle prowess, I have no idea about them because I haven't actually used them in battle. And that's kind of more where you're at.
Well, like that, in terms of how he works, in terms of how like blood hunters work in a way for combat, it's weird. They're in like such a weird place with trying to describe what they are. Because like, if I tell you a classic and wield magic, but also can semi be a tank, then that's kind of describing what a paladin is. But that's not what a blood hunter is at all. Like, it's not a paladin; it's a completely different class. So like, and like with how they work in terms of their spells, while a lot of them are similar to like warlocks and stuff with like Eldritch Blast and other types of spells, um, their unique thing is with their blood curses. Like, for example, they have like a blood curse of Blood Agony, which when you use that, it's supposed to be like it's supposed to be a curse. Like it's kind of like um a separate like spell slot area compared to like your normal spell slots. So like you do like a pact thing pretty much. So if I say, oh, I use my blood curse of Blood Agony, then not only do I have to take blood for myself and then use that like damage I took to cast that spell, um, you can also use a thing called the Crimson Right to enhance um, a weapon's like efficiency, I think, with attack rolls, and that also helps with what's it called? With like just trying to get another hit on your target. So they are definitely stuck in a very like weird place, I think, in terms of describing them in combat. But overall, I think they're really good. It's kind of the same thing with paladins.
Just because of how awkward they are, I'm gonna put them in meh. Just because they're so awkward to describe, and that might just be because we haven't played them enough.
Yeah, I think that's another thing.
But they
And
just,
for environment, from what I've seen, there's not really much they have seen to be able to do.
yeah, we'll just leave them in meh for now. Clerics. You want to do this one, or you want me to?
You can do it.
I think clerics are good. Clerics, you can offer a lot in terms of story, not because of like necessarily what you do, but because of what you are. You can always have the banter between like teammates or whatever refusing to heal them. Even though clerics typically are religious, you can have the whole, not giving a flying fuck about religion. They add a nice bit of story. They're almost essential in like every campaign as your best healer slot because healing is fantastic and that's what clerics do best. Um, as I said, the banter between, other members of your party and other things you could do in terms of, you know, holy things or whatever the fight and banter between deities like that's also possible. I think it adds more to the story. It's not like a bard though, where they add a lot to the story and have and relatively good battle prowess, but I think they add enough to keep them out of meh. Only downside is y'all are frail as fuck. Unless you choose something that gives you like medium armor or heavy armor or some bullshit. Anything to add, Aiden?
I mean, I don't really know much about clerics, so I'm just gonna take your word on it.
That's fair. Okay, up next. Probably my third favorite one on this list. Druid. You want to start this one?
You can go on ahead.
Okay, druids are one of those where they don't typically add much to the story unless you're playing like one of the land druids. And then, those are very campaign dependent and not that good. But my favorite druid is the moon druid. Absolutely fucking adore it. I feel like you can add some type of aspects between, in terms of story between you and the moon and nature and able to add that into your backstory and some of your interactions. They don't offer, again, like a bard, a lot of interactions and storytelling, but they do offer a decent bit. Druids, as a class in terms of battle prowess, are kind of 50-50. If you take a land druid, no matter what land type you choose, unless you are 100% certain this is the land type I'm always going to be on, it's pretty trash. If you take the moon druid, it's just fucking fun and amazing. So, I think because of that, I'm going to give them good. I have to give them mad just because the base druid that you get isn't that great. If you get moon druid, it becomes better. If you get moon druid, it goes up like here. Until then, though, it has to stay in meh. Up next is fighter, and this is more you.
I mean, Grid have only ever made a fighter, but okay.
I mean, I
Um,
can help. Let's just go through
fighters,
it. You
yeah,
start.
fighters, I would say is more so like as much as it's dumb to say and it's a cliche, they are the basic, they are the basic class when it comes to fighting and everything because like they can literally hit you for like a billion attacks per turn. Like it's insane with how many attacks they can do. So I would say in terms of that, their utility in battle, at least for weapon attacks, are really useful, especially with some of the races we talked about before. With if they're a gunslinger, are insane. Um, so I would say with how their very skilled with hitting a shit ton in fights. I would say in combat they're really useful.
So I will say this. This is your stereotypical blonde chick of the D&D classes. This is like the most basic ass boba loving blonde chick. Like you don't get much more basic is not bad, but it's everything you would expect. This is like
Yeah,
your default characters. This is like that's the best way to describe it. But what they do really, really well in terms of
yeah.
battle prowess. Do not get
It's
me
like when
wrong.
you think of like D&D, it's like when you think of D&D, and it's like people saying like, "Quick, think of a class in D&D." This is like one of the first ones that comes to mind.
Unless you
Like
like
this
hard
is the
main.
D&D class.
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
like this is your stereotypical one. But they do a lot of everything. They're the jack of all trades, a master of none, pretty much, minus magic. They're a jack of all trades. But with that being said, they are good because they're a jack of all trades. And some of the things like I think it's Battle Master I know is really good, things like that.
yeah, Battle Master.
In terms of storytelling, that really depends highly up on your backstory. I mean, because fighters can be damn near anything. You can be
Yeah, I'd say
anything
it
from a
depends on your backstory, and also depends on like how you actually make the fighter, because like depending on how you make them, they could have a lot to say or not a lot.
you could be a gunslinging outlaw. You could be an ex general in an army. You could be a common street rat who taught himself how to fight to survive. There's so much you can do with it just because of how generic it is. And I think that
Yeah,
gives it a lot of story aspect. I think we actually have to put it in best just because of how it is. I don't think there's any place else for it. Actually, we'll save
yeah,
best until after we determine everything else, and then pick one for best, one for worst.
yeah. We'll keep. It's definitely high good though. All like out of everything.
Yeah, I mean high great, but yeah, most definitely.
But yeah, you get what I mean.
Yeah. Okay, monk. You want to
There
go
we
for?
go.
You want to go for this one? Or you want me to? I know a decent
Nah,
bit.
well, we can both do it, but yeah, you
Okay,
can start this one off.
monks in terms of battle prowess are shit. As of right now, I know they get better in 1 D&D. That's like 2 to 3 years off. Monks right now are dog shit. Absolute dog shit. They run out of key points too quickly. You rely on that to really do much of anything. You don't really get to use a weapon. It's all unarmed strikes. So unless their key points applies to something like the claws from like a tabaxi or whatever, they're just not that good. It's too many resources. You run out too quickly. You just choose fighter. Fighter's better. Choose
Yeah,
barbarian. I just now hold on. Before that's their battle prowess. Now, story wise, it's like the fighter but worse. It's literally just a worse fighter because like monks don't necessarily have to be your whole religious temple that we think of when we think of monks. Really, a monk is just someone that fist fights, but that limits what they can be to being like oh, it's a generic person who took up boxing or some shit. Or I mean, you can do the whole religious monks. We give you a bit more storytelling, but overall it's not as generic. You don't get many weapon choices. You just run out of your stuff too quickly. I just I don't want to put it in trash, but like we'll put it in bad. I don't think it's trash. I don't think any of them are realistically trash, but yeah. Anything to add to that, Aiden? Add, take away, etc.
not not really. The monks like as a concept they're cool, but I think they executed it poorly in terms of making them like viable.
I will say this though, when one D&D comes out, they're going to be one of the best classes in the game.
What do you mean one D&D?
One D&D is the next edition, where there are no more
Oh,
additions to D&D at all.
okay.
That's it. One D&D is the end all be all. And they'll just be tweaking it, here and there
Yeah,
with
totally. And
updates.
then 6th edition will come out.
No, no, no. They
Imagine.
even said no more additions. It's literally
No, no,
just
it
one.
would just be funny if there was another one.
But I know, I have to rank monks based on how they are now in 5e. Monks in 1 D&D, once that comes out, can grapple and are the best grapplers and really good with it. So, at least as of right now. So, if they keep that, they'll monk goes from here to here if they keep that because their battle prowess goes up. But for now, monks are just bad. Paladin, Aiden, you're up.
Oh yeah, we're doing paladins now.
Yep,
Okay.
this is all you.
So like we mentioned with the blood hunters, these are pretty much magic users, but they're also tanks at the same time. And what you can do in terms of spells pretty much all depends on your oath. But I would say in terms of like with how you would build your paladin, like you can build them in so many ways. You can build them in mainly as a spellcaster. You can build them as more a supporting spellcaster, well, along with being a tank. You can make them just full on attacking. Like there's a lot of different ways you can make a paladin, and like with each oath, you get different types of spells, which I think is really interesting. Um, and just being able to heal yourself, like just in general, is really useful without using any like spell slots for a healing like spell or using items like potions. So it's really useful in what it sets out to do. So I think paladins for combat are pretty good.
And now I guess it is time for me to chime in on story wise on what I think. They're decent, but everything for a paladin centers around religion. Every bit of it. I hate it. It's not bad, I just hate it how it's centered around religion. But that's just me
I wonder
personally.
why it does that. Because that's the fucking character.
I know. That doesn't mean I have to like
Also,
it.
you do realize there's stuff that could relate to what you probably want to do for oaths, right? Probably vengeance or an oath breaker.
Oh, I know.
I was gonna say it's not just all oaths. You could become what you shouldn't be
I
as a
have
paladin.
3 paladins made. I promise you, I know.
And let me guess, they're all oath breakers.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Every last one of them. Paladins are. They're interesting because, in terms of story, they progress it, but they only progress it via one very particular thing. But with that being said, it gives them a decent bit of versatility because of it. So I think paladins are overall good. I don't think they're as good as, things like the fighter and the bard because paladins you have to stick to one thing that advances it versus again things like fighter where you have multiple, bard still has a few things like that. I think they're good though. Any objections, thoughts, etc.?
Nah.
I figured you'd argue with me on it. Okay, Ranger.
About them being good? Nah. I
Range.
know they definitely could be better.
Yeah, I wish they had better like spellcasting ability. Is my only thing. Less tank, better spellcasting ability. I think would make a paladin better. Okay, in terms of ranger, you only run one type of ranger. It's the only good thing about a ranger. You run the beastmaster. Well, there might be a dragon master one too, if I remember correctly. You only
I actually
run
want to
those
see
two.
what kind of stuff there were for Rangers, because there was some stuff that I remember a lot of people would say, well, I know Beastmaster, another one that some people said were good were Swarm Keepers.
I've never heard of that one.
Yeah,
Beastmaster tends to be the best one. You get a pet and you get spells to enhance said pets, attacking
that's fair.
abilities. Therefore, it doesn't matter what your strength stat is, your pet's doing all of the attacking. If I'm not mistaken, you can
Yeah,
even get like a dire wolf or some shit. So like, this shit's amazing. Might not be able to get a dire. You can get a regular wolf maybe. I don't know. Point is Beastmaster is fantastic. You can always develop story depending on what region you're in. You know, you're a hunter out in the wild, or you're a person who tries to protect the forest and nature. There's
yeah,
a bunch of ways you can spin it. It is all centered around nature, but it that branches off into
and
so many different paths.
yeah, and while this is a very like situational, unique ability that rangers have, they have like a favored enemy and like type of terrain that that like could also help with like potential story stuff and like with combat, but again, it's a very situational thing.
Also,
It's an interesting thing though that what that rangers have that what
rangers make great shopkeepers because
actually yeah,
or shop owners because they give things to sell. If you're a hunting type ranger, you can always sell, the things you kill, or you can even open a restaurant with it. It gives you that versatility. Or if you're one of the ones preserving nature, you might be able to still sell things like flowers. It does give you that shop owning ability. However, I will say, at least on D&D Beyond, you have to buy Beastmaster, which is kind of sucks. So I'm gonna put it in good, but overall, pretty great. Okay, my time to shine. Oh yes,
here we go, bias JJ now.
we haven't determined the best one yet. Rogue, it's between Rogue and Fighter. They are fighting for the absolute best one. Absolutely, hands down, no fucking doubt. Rogues are probably my favorite class in D&D. Easy to build, easy to understand, great storyline versatility because you can be an assassin, you can just be a trickster, you can be, a thief. It gives you so many intricacies of what you can do. You could also, be someone who works for the government, stealing from the people that stole from them, or, you could be a regular thief stealing from shopkeepers, or literally, you could be an assassin for the army, or, be an assassin for hire. There's so much a rogue can do with that versatility. And the fact that they can get magic spells if you want it, if you want to run the arcane trickster, you get the best, in my opinion, rogue archetype from the beginning, being a thief. And if you saw our other video, one of, if not the best races in D&D literally supports rogues to a T. It is just perfect. And you don't have to work, you just sit there and steal from people. Because you're gonna have like a plus 11 in stealth at the very beginning at like level 5, so it's like you don't have to worry about it. Rogues are fan fucking tastic, and I adore them. Anything to say, Ed?
Nah, unless I think only thing is I think you're biased.
Oh, I'm absolutely biased. But you can't tell me any point I made was wrong.
Yeah,
At least I
they
gave the
are
fact that
useful.
that it and Fighter are very like close in terms of being the best
Here's the thing, they're
overall.
very good in combat and they can help with the environment, but they can be a pain in the ass to your party if they fuck up.
Yeah, that is true.
Which is why I personally would just leave them in great. Because if they fuck up trying to steal from somebody, possibly in jail they go.
I will say this though, they don't have to steal because they are always really good in persuasion as well. Because
Well, that's
charisma.
what I mean. If you like, to be fair, JJ, you with like you have some shit rolls sometimes, so I would not be surprised if you fail a stealth check, fail the sleight of hand or a sleight of hand check, and then try to fail a persuasion check, and then just
If
fucking
I
get
fail all
arrested.
three, I'm a cry. But you can't
You
go
rolled
based off
nat ones on
just.
every single one.
I mean, even rolling a nat 1 on stealth and sleight of hand, I'm still hitting a 12, so you never know. But yeah, I think rogues are fantastic. And as I said, you can also be just an intelligence gatherer as well to add on to that.
Yeah,
Where that's all you do is sit there and gather intelligence, which is great for going on missions.
an intelligence gatherer, especially when it comes to learning other people, a changeling is absolutely broken for that. Like we
Exactly.
say in the racist tier list. You literally transform into anybody, learn about anyone, and then fucking boom, you have all the information you need.
You could transform into some guy or into some woman's husband, go to their bank, get their card or whatever, withdraw everything from their bank account, and just leave and have all the money, and no one would ever know it was you.
That's why if I ever get to use a rogue, I want to make sure that the DM has access to the chainling race.
I mean, I have it, so it's fucking fantastic. I love it. I think
Well, I'm
rogues,
saying I don't have it, is what I mean.
then get good scrub. Uh, Either way, I think rogues are. It's top two at least. It's between it and fighter. It's very close. Okay, so to continue on to finish this, sorcerer. What are your thoughts?
Sorcerer?
Yeah.
Hmm. Sorcerers, it's kind of hard to say a lot of stuff about them. Because like they're pretty much wizards, but they got their magic like immediately once like they were born.
That's
Because like
true.
wizards are always known for like learning all their stuff through like books and everything, but sorcerers get their stuff like that, like a snap of the fingers. They get it immediately. Um, so like I guess they're kind of just like wizards, but I don't know, just a bit more boast about their ability, just having everything handed to them. That's kind of all I really know about sorcerers.
I will say
Because I think with
wizards are better. 100%. Wizards are better.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying sorcerers are better. I'm just saying like that's like the thing about them. Like they just have their powers already. I think with sorcerers, obviously there are some classes that also benefit from multiclassing, but for me, I think they benefit the most from multiclassing.
Oh, absolutely. Sorcerers are decent on their own. I feel like their main
Yeah.
flaw is they're just kind of a generic spellcaster, and wizards do it better. Because
Yeah.
wizards,
They're still useful, but I think if you run a pure sorcerer, you're better off either multiclassing it or becoming a wizard. And that's not even saying you have to put in a ton of levels into that class. Like if you wanted to be a Sorlock and you just wanted one specific type of spell and then you're good, you could just stop leveling up that class and just level up the rest of the stuff for Sorcerer.
so here's my thing against sorcerers. Why? If you ran a wizard, or if you might have the option of wizard, which you do, wizards prepare their spells every, session. So you can change spells on a dime for whatever you're going up against if you know For an example, you're going to a seafood festival and you have to win
Mm-hmm.
some type of challenge. You
Gee, I wonder where
could,
you got that from.
yeah, gee, I wonder. You can, you know, specialize your spells around sabotaging the other person with something like create or destroy water, things like that. because they can prepare their spells like that and learn all of them, but you can only use a select few, and you get access to Fireball, which is the best offensive spell in the game, in my personal opinion.
Which it actually is.
Yeah, it's just wizards are better. Sorcerers are not bad, but wizards are just better. But I'm pretty sure
They're the
sorcerers
more
get.
powerful standalone spellcaster.
Yeah, I think sorcerers do get like Find Familiar though, and wizards don't. I'm not 100%. If that's the case, then mixing them is the best. Um, they're not bad in terms of storytelling. You could very much go with like a whole family lineage storyline for a
Yeah,
sorcerer, which that
which is
can
what I
branch
planned for
off.
mine.
Yeah, which is what I have one for. And I think that could always
Well,
be fun.
kind of. What do you actually mean by like a family thing?
I mean, so for an example, your storyline could be, oh, I got exiled from the family because, they weren't as good at magic, or because they didn't show that they were a sorcerer immediately, or, their powers didn't show up immediately, etc. Things like that
Hmm.
you can drag into a storyline, or you could also make them kind of a pompous asshole of, oh, my family is, have been sorcerers for 500 years, and this is our, sorcerer line bullshit that we, extra spells that we get, and all that bullshit.
Yeah.
It's very much so a family line centered class, but it's in by no means bad, and it's pretty good at
Oh yeah.
storytelling. I think they
Yeah.
belong in good.
Yeah, I think they're definitely good.
Okay, I'm gonna do Wizard next, just because I feel like Wizard's kind of the catalyst for like the last one in terms of ranking it.
Yeah.
Wizards are great. One of the best like battlers. Yes, they're fucking weak, and you breathe on them, they die. Unless you have something like a Thrycreen or something like that that has a great armor class and can kind of bolster it a little bit.
Yeah, because they unfortunately die from 1d4 everything damage.
Pretty much. But they have the best offensive spells in the game. They have access to things like shield, counter spell, and again, you get to prepare your spells every day instead of only having the ones that you know. It's fantastic. We love wizards.
Yeah.
And in terms of storytelling, I mean, yes, study at a college and you get things like evocations, etc., that you are proficient in, or whatever the fuck with your college. Gee, I wonder how much you could do having different colleges and different aspects of a wizard that you can go into. Just like with rogues, just like with fighters, and even with bards, which is something I didn't mention. Having that versatility is bullshit, and it makes it great because you get a lot of them right off the bat.
Yep.
It makes wizards great. Now, the one that where you have to use both wizard and sorcerer and cleric kind of rank, warlock. You let's both take over this one. First off, warlocks are fan fucking tastic for fighting.
They are.
Eldritch Blast is fucking bullshit. I love
Eldritch
it.
Blast, yeah. It's pretty much their version of Fireball. It's insanely good, and you can fire it a ton of times.
And from a really fucking long range. We
Well,
love
if you're the Galen and you made it so you can do it from 300 feet away, just
even
fucking
base.
absurd.
Even base is 120 feet. At base,
Exactly.
it's bullshit. You're a sniper.
Hmm.
And you get different abilities based on who your patron is.
And it's funny that this is supposed to be a sniper with Eldritch Blast. We're with the hit die. This isn't even the weakest one in the game. It's a D8 with hit die. With wizards and sorcerers, you have a D6.
Yeah, it's really good. Now, you don't have the benefit of being able to prepare spells like wizards and clerics do. However,
No.
that being said, it has a great storyline as well with, you having a patron. And you can
Yeah.
tie it into your backstory, and just like with clerics, it gives you a way to progress through the storyline.
Yeah,
a reasoning. And it also like with a cleric or a paladin, it gives you someone you can communicate with, you know, and there's just so much you can do with it. Just again like paladin, but I think in terms of battle prowess, they're better than paladin. Just outright. I think they're better.
fair.
And no offense, they also pair with a lot more things.
Yeah, I would say while warlocks can definitely work on their own, they're also really damn good when they're multi-class. Like bardlocks and sorlocks are insane.
As someone who plays a bardlock, I fucking love it. I even took my specific patron as the Fathomless one. Not because, oh, it's the best for our campaign or anything. No, because I'm a horny bard, and what's better than being able to summon tentacles at will? You know?
Yeah, I was gonna say that's why you did that.
It's absolutely amazing, and I love it. I think they go in great along with the others. They have better. The only reason I put them there is just because while their storyline is kind of the same as a paladin or a cleric, they have better battle prowess and a decent bit more compatibility. Whereas clerics, you kind of are only a cleric, and same with paladins. Any thoughts against it, for it, etc.?
Nah,
Okay. Now, with that done, the real question. Worst one has already been decided. The best. We know it's between two.
fighter and the rogue.
Yeah. I just don't know which is better. Like, they're both just fan fucking tastic.
I would say for me, like, here's the thing. What can fighters do in terms of environmental stuff?
That it's the same thing with the rogue. It's dependent. It depends on the backstory you give your fighter. Just like with a rogue, a fighter could be a gunslinger. It could be a general. It could be, a basic army person. It could be someone who was, oh, what the fuck are they called? The ones who ride on horseback. The cavalry. There we go.
Yeah, cavalry.
It depends on what you make it, on how it interacts with the environment. Same with a rogue. Their backstory, even though you have, like, say, three generic rogue classes of arcane, trickster, thief, and assassin, you could be an assassin for the government, assassin against the government, assassin for hire, All of these things tie into both of them. In terms of storytelling aspect, I think they're both the same.
But that's the thing, like it all depends on what you make them. But like in a general sense, who would be better?
I think we have to go based on battle prowess. I think
Yeah.
that's just the end all be all. We have to go on battle prowess. Which, even that's hard, but I kind of want to give it to Rogue for the sole reason that I feel like there are more classes that support a rogue, or not classes, more races that support being a rogue versus the ones that support being a fighter. Because as we've already
Some
listed,
reason for that, but yeah, rogues, I think just from thinking about it on its own, like without dependency of what the fighter or rogue are, they have a lot more stuff they can do environmentally than just a standalone fighter could do. Like let's say you're just a normal rogue and a normal fighter, you don't have like any insanely like big backstory about being an enemy soldier or an assassin. Rogues can still do a lot more that fighters can't. They can still get expertise in stealing things and persuading.
yeah,
And I think in general, in terms of combat, they're both equally skilled in what they can do. They're equally skilled in their combat, and they both do well with what they do.
I will say
So I
in
think
terms
rogues are
of
probably the best.
combat, I would even give the advantage to the rogue because you can be an arcane trickster and be ranged, like really
That's
long
what I mean.
range.
Once you go into the dependency stuff, Rogue probably is the better one of the two. I'm just saying, like on a
Yeah.
general sense, they're equally matched.
Oh yeah, it's very hard to like pick one, but I think rogue, just because of how much rogues are just so supported in this game, with again one of the best races of all time being the changeling, to even a tabaxi that can run super fast and all that, to sneak attack, so it gives you some kind of interplay with your party and strategizing with them. And the very great fact that you don't use your strength modifier for shit. Fuck the strength
Mm-hmm.
modifier. It, strength is only good for like your melee weapon attacks, but in terms of skills, it gives you nothing. Rogues use
Nope.
dexterity. Dexterity is used in like a quarter of all the skill checks, and it's the thing rogues are best at. It is so easy to have a +5.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think rogues have to win it here. Now, real quick is something fun to do just to kill a little bit of time. Instead of doing the other tier list, because we've been going for almost an hour, let's talk about what Harry Potter classes do you think each race or each class would be?
I don't remember shit about Harry Potter classes, so that's all on you.
You don't know what makes a Slytherin, Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, and Ravenclaw?
Oh, okay. I think that there was like some other shit there.
No.
Okay, now we can do that. Rogues are easily Slytherin. I don't
Yeah,
think we have to
absolute.
sugarcoat it. They are easily
Yeah,
Slytherin.
easily.
Would we say
Bards.
Warlocks are there too? Because I feel like with their patron that they can choose, it can vary.
Yeah, I feel like warlocks are more. I feel like warlocks are more Hufflepuffs. For the
Yeah.
simple fact that they're not really cunning or whatever, they're just kind of friendly and do. They're just kind of in their own court.
Mm-hmm.
Wizards are easily Ravenclaws. Easily.
Who's Ravenclaw?
Wizard.
Yeah.
Bard.
Bard. I don't know.
I'm between two.
Yeah,
It's.
same.
I'm. What two are you between?
I, dude, this is hard. I was thinking maybe like, I don't know. For some reason, I was thinking like maybe Slytherin or Hufflepuff,
You went Hufflepuff?
or not Hufflepuff. I, for some reason, I thought no. What the fuck am I thinking? I don't know. What were you thinking?
I was between Slytherin and Gryffindor.
That was it. I was thinking like,
Yeah.
what was the basic bitch, like class to be, and it was Gryffindor.
Because while
I don't know
one of
why I thought Hufflepuff
Gryffindor's
was that.
things is bravery, which bards are just kind of middle ground, the other thing
They're,
Gryffindors have is arrogance.
yeah,
And that's like one of the bard's signature things. But Slytherin's main trait is cunning. And that's also in turn with a bard. I think I would say they're more Slytherin though, overall.
yeah, I think so. Because they literally use seduction to try and like manipulate people in some ways.
Yeah. Fighters are Gryffindors.
It's yeah, I was gonna say they're easily Gryffindors.
Artificers, easily Ravenclaws. Clerics. Ooh, that one's interesting.
Hmm.
Hmm. I feel like clerics are Hufflepuffs. Part of me wants to say Ravenclaws, but I feel like they're just Hufflepuffs. They're kind of just your loyal
Mm,
person, typically.
yeah,
Loyal and hardworking. I think that's about the best we can get out of it. Paladin. I kind of. I'm between two again.
paladins I think are kind of tricky. Yeah, two again.
Between Hufflepuff and Gryffindor.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go Hufflepuff more because of the whole loyalty to a patron.
yeah.
I
You
think
mean to you mean to a god?
I don't give a fuck, whatever you want to call it.
Well, I'm just saying that's what the paladin thing is. They're taking an oath to a god, a like mythical being.
Ranger. Hmm.
Ranger. I don't play Rangers. I know barely anything about Rangers, so I don't know where they would go.
They're like a mix between Ravenclaws and Hufflepuffs. I'ma go more Hufflepuff. The Rangers are in that like weird state where they're like between three of them because they even have a little bit of Gryffindor. But I
Yeah.
think overall, just the whole hardworking part and loyal, especially with the Beastmaster, I think it fits them.
hmm
Sorcerer.
Sorcerers, they boast about their powers a lot. So which class would do that?
Slytherin.
Yeah, well, yeah, but
I think they're
is there
between
really anything
Slytherin
anywhere
and
else they could go?
Ravenclaw.
Okay, well, what's Raven? Let's actually look at the classes then for Harry Potter. What would Ravenclaw be?
Ravenclaw, knowledge and creativity. Hufflepuff, hardworking and loyal. Gryffindor, bravery is their main thing. Slytherin, cunning. Those are typically the defining traits.
Say Ravenclaw again.
Uh, intelligent, intelligence and creativity.
Okay, wizards, I would say, are Ravenclaws. Um, God, I would say both. Like, I know you can't say both, but like, it's hard because sorcerers are technically smart because they got all that stuff from their ancestors, so they have the intelligence to use those spells, but they love boasting about their powers, which makes them Slytherins. I guess if we had to compare, they're more Slytherin than Ravenclaw,
Yeah, because they didn't. I don't think these,
mainly because they boast
especially in
about their powers
modern
a lot more
day,
and they didn't earn it compared to wizards.
I think also to add to that, they didn't really learn their magic. They were just born with it.
Yeah, they didn't learn it. So, yeah.
Barbarians or Gryffindors, we can just skip to next.
Yeah.
Blood Hunter. I feel like this is. I feel like this is another like Gryffindor. Maybe Slytherin.
I would say Gryffindor or Slytherin, because I would say they're cunning with their blood curses, but at the same time, they're also brave by doing so because they're hurting themselves.
Yeah, it's very awkward. I think they're more Gryffindor though.
Yeah.
Druids are easily Ravenclaws.
Yeah.
Monks. Hmm.
What are Hufflepuffs again?
Loyalty, loyal and hardworking.
Would you say a monk is that?
I think they're more Gryffindor.
Bravery instead?
Hmm.
Fair enough. I was just thinking loyalty because, like, monks, I don't know. It just seemed like they fit more there.
I mean, monks
But
are just anyone who learns hand-to-hand combat. Doesn't even have to be a
yeah, that's
monastery
fair. I keep
thing.
thinking of monks as like our version of monks, not
I know.
DND's.
That's why I
Yeah.
preferenced it. So
Yeah, yeah,
overall, we
yeah.
have one, two. What did we classify warlocks as again?
Um, I don't remember. Probably should have written that down.
We put it as Slytherin.
I think so.
No, we put it as Hufflepuff.
Oh wait, no, yeah, it was Hufflepuff.
So one, two, three. So we had
What?
three Slytherins. Bless you.
Thanks.
One, two. One, two, three. Three Ravenclaws. One, two, three. Four Gryffindors. And four Hufflepuffs. So overall, a pretty balanced spread.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone. With that, I think we go on a raid. If I even have anyone live. If not, then we'll end here.
I was gonna say I have nobody alive right now.
Do you not? Let's see, do I? Well,
Speaking of Nick is live.
yep. You ready to go on the raid? Aiden?
Sure.
Pause, 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 pause. Thank you. Okay. It's just us, by the way, Aiden, so we can just head over there. You
Yeah,
already
I
know the raid
know.
hashtag.
I know. I'm gonna send in the raid tag.
Yeah, if I could